Taylor Novak was 17, living on the outskirts of Austin, Texas, where summer days boiled and nights simmered with the shrill buzz of cicadas. His neighborhood sat at the edge of a new development, miles of identical houses, each with pristine lawns and neat driveways. His own family's home was a single-story ranch style, the typical suburban sprawl. He had just wrapped up his junior year of high school, that in-between season of teenage restlessness. His bedroom was small but comfortable, walls sporting posters of indie bands and horror movies he loved. A wide mirror stood by his closet, part of a dresser set, a fixture he barely noticed after so many years. Yet, in the looming nights of June, he began paying that mirror far more attention. It started innocently enough. Late one afternoon, Taylor was in his room, music low, fiddling with an old guitar pick. He glanced at the mirror, catching a glimpse of his reflection. Something was off. For a split second, it seemed the reflection was half a beat behind him. He had tilted his head to pop his neck, but the reflection delayed a fraction of a second, an almost imperceptible lag. He thought maybe the light was messing with him, heat haze or exhaustion from the sweltering day. He shrugged it off, returning to his phone. But the fleeting impression lingered, a small itch in the back of his mind. Over the next few days, Taylor noticed more discrepancies in the mirror. When he brushed his teeth, the reflection moved in tandem, yet he swore its eyes flicked to the side a moment too soon. Or that when he turned away, he glimpsed the reflection continuing the brushing motion for a fraction of a second, as if struggling to match his every move. Once, playing with his hair, he tilted his head left, but the reflection took an extra heartbeat to follow. He tried shaking it off, lack of sleep, random illusions, maybe afterimages. The house's overhead lights weren't the best. But the strangeness escalated. In the bathroom mirror, in reflective surfaces around the house, everything seemed normal. Only in his bedroom mirror did these discrepancies appear. He considered telling his parents, but he felt silly explaining, "Hey, my reflection's glitching?" He decided to investigate on his own. Late one night, around midnight, he set up a small experiment. He propped his phone on a stack of books, angled to record him and the mirror simultaneously. Then, in front of the mirror, he performed slow, deliberate motions, raising his right arm, making a fist, rotating his torso. If there was a lag, the camera would catch it. At first, the reflection mirrored him perfectly. He crouched, it crouched. He rolled his shoulders, it rolled. But after a minute, he noticed the reflection's eyes. They seemed to track his movements a hair too late, or occasionally look away from him entirely. He ended the test feeling uneasy, but with no definitive proof of anything. He replayed the video. The footage showed him moving, reflection matching in perfect unison, no lag, no delay. Feeling foolish, he chalked it up to overactive imagination. Yet a lingering sense of disquiet told him the camera simply missed it, or the reflection behaved normally because it was being filmed. Around this time, Taylor began waking up to odd sounds in his room at night, soft footsteps on the carpet, a gentle creak of the dresser. He'd bolt upright, flick on the lamp, see no one. The mirror stood there, reflecting him in pajamas, confusion on his face. Perhaps the house was settling, or the AC was kicking on, but the feeling that someone was there watching lingered. He'd stare at the mirror in the dark. The shape of his reflection loomed, lit faintly by the glow from the streetlight through the window. If he stared long enough, it seemed the reflection's chest rose and fell at a different rhythm than his own breathing, or its posture shifted in ways he hadn't. But the moment he flicked on a lamp, it was back to perfect mimicry. More nights of this pattern, footsteps, half-waking illusions, the mirror's occupant always too still. Taylor eventually told his best friend, Milo, a skeptic by nature. Milo chuckled at first, but grew serious when he saw how uneasy Taylor was. The two hung out in Taylor's room one afternoon, laughing about random nonsense, occasionally eyeing the mirror. Milo tried goofing around, making silly poses in front of it. The reflection seemed perfectly normal. "Dude, it's fine," Milo said. though he looked a bit spooked by Taylor's conviction. Maybe your mind's playing tricks. Before leaving, Milo said, if you're freaked out, toss a blanket over the mirror. Problem solved, right? Taylor nodded, but the idea of covering the mirror only accentuated how unsettled he felt. It would be admitting the mirror had power. That night, he tried anyway. He draped an old sheet over the dresser mirror, telling himself he'd sleep better. But at 2 a.m., he found himself pulling the sheet away, curiosity burning. The reflection was there, of course, matching him as he moved. Yet his gut told him that once the lights were off, it might do something else entirely. Days blurred by, and the phenomena grew more blatant. One afternoon, Taylor was adjusting his collar in front of the mirror, preparing for a family dinner. He turned away to grab cologne off the dresser, but in his peripheral vision, the reflection lingered half a second longer in the adjusting collar pose. Then it snapped to catch up. He spun back, heart mirroring. The reflection locked eyes with him, wearing his face, but seemingly bristling with smugness. For a moment, he stood there, breath stuck in his throat, trying to decide if he'd truly seen a delay. He tested it again, lifting a hand quickly. The reflection responded almost instantly, though he sensed it was maybe a fraction behind. No one else was around to confirm it. He felt a wave of dread. Something was definitely amiss. That evening, tension built. He confided in his mom, Miss Novak, about weird happenings in his room. He admitted hearing footsteps, feeling watched. She teased him about too many horror movies, but she also offered a sympathetic ear. It's an old mirror. We got it from Grandpa's attic, she said. Maybe it's just your imagination. She checked the dresser, found nothing unusual. She told him to get better sleep, maybe reduce screen time. He forced a nod, though it didn't quell his anxiety. He noticed how the reflection behind his mother seemed normal, following her movements perfectly. Meanwhile, the reflection of him in the corner of the mirror wore a slight frown that he didn't remember making. A week later, an event occurred that shattered any doubt. Taylor was winding down for bed, reading under a dim lamp. Midnight crept up on him. As he passed the mirror on his way to switch off the light, he decided to do one last test. He'd wave or do a quick dance move, see if the reflection lagged. He faced the mirror. His reflection stood. Slowly, he raised his right arm, wiggling his fingers. The reflection did the same. He turned his head side to side. The reflection matched. Then he hopped on one foot for a second. No delay. He huffed in frustration, about to give up, when he noticed the reflection's face. The eyes were slightly narrowed, as if annoyed. That expression wasn't how he felt. Next, he attempted a quick lean to the left. The reflection froze. Heart pounding, he repeated the move. The reflection didn't budge. He slowly lowered his arm, but the reflection's arm remained raised. A surge of dread nearly paralyzed him. It's not moving. He stared, disbelieving. The reflection gazed back, expression cold, lips parted. Taylor took a step backward. His reflection remained in place, raised arm suspended. Panic seized him. He turned to flee, but something made him glance once more at the mirror. The reflection still hadn't moved, head tilted, eyes following him. Then, as if mocking him, the reflection's mouth curled into a grin. Taylor bolted out the door, heart hammering, sprinting down the hallway. He reached the living room, flicking on lights. The house was silent, parents asleep. He forced himself to calm down, deciding to spend the night on the couch. He grabbed a blanket, his mom. In racing. Did he truly see the reflection fail to mirror him, or was it an optical glitch? As he settled on the couch, he heard footsteps behind him, on the hardwood. He twisted around, expecting a parent or sibling, though he had no siblings. No one was there. Then came his own voice, quiet but unmistakable. "Where do you think you're going?" He spun around frantically. The hall leading to his bedroom was dark. The mirror in that room was out of sight. But the voice had sounded like him, laced with an ominous edge. He didn't sleep at all that night, the voice echoing in his mind. The next morning, he mustered courage to re-enter his room. The mirror showed his normal reflection brushing teeth, though it felt standoffish, like it was forced to perform. The memory of that voice haunted him. Soon, the reflection anomalies spread beyond his bedroom dresser. In the hallway mirror near the front door, he caught a fleeting mismatch, his reflection crossing its arms when he didn't. In the reflection of a window, he saw his figure look up at him with cold eyes. Each time, it was brief, leaving him questioning his sanity. He avoided mirrors as much as possible, but in modern life, reflections are everywhere. Windows, phone screens, polished surfaces. Anxiety gnawed at him. He realized it wasn't just one mirror. My reflection itself is corrupted. In desperation, Taylor searched online for reflection not matching movements. He scrolled through odd forums discussing paranormal experiences, doppelgangers, or demonic possessions. Many threads were jokes or pranks, but one user's account described something eerily similar, a reflection that gradually became independent, culminating in the reflection speaking. That user claimed the reflection eventually replaced them, though the post ended abruptly. Taylor's heart pounded. Was he next? He recalled old superstitions about mirrors as portals to another realm or malevolent doubles. He swallowed thickly, turning off his phone. The possibility that his reflection wanted to replace him chilled him to the core. Determined to take control, Taylor devised a plan. Confront the reflection head-on, force it to reveal its intentions. He chose midday for the attempt. Sunlight was safer than the night's shadows. He locked his bedroom door, drew the blinds for even lighting. He faced the dresser mirror, breathing fast. "I know you're in there," he said quietly. The reflection mimicked his stance, lips moving in sync. "Answer me," he demanded. He raised his left hand. The reflection raised its left. No lag. "I know you can act independently. Show yourself." For a tense moment, nothing. Then, in a flicker, the reflection's eyes narrowed, out of sync with his own. Taylor's real eyes remained neutral, but the reflection's tongue furned predatory. He felt goosebumps as the reflection parted its lips, though no sound came out. He forced himself not to look away. "What do you want?" he whispered. The reflection's mouth curled into a half-smile, like it understood but chose silence. Slowly, it raised a hand, but not matching Taylor's. He felt a jolt of fear. He had not moved, yet the reflection's arm rose toward the mirror's surface. Suddenly, a loud knock at the bedroom door made him jump, a parent calling his name. By the time he whipped back to the mirror, the reflection was normal again, mimicking him. He cursed under his breath. The moment was gone. That night, he feared sleeping in his room. He dreaded waking to the reflection looming over him. The memory of hearing his own voice behind him was too raw. He placed a piece of furniture in front of the dresser, hoping to block the mirror. But something in him suspected it wouldn't help. Sure enough, around 2 a.m., he woke to the furniture screeching across the floor. He snapped on the lamp, saw the dresser was visible again. The heavy piece he'd shoved was now moved aside. The mirror stood unobstructed, and in it, his reflection sat up in bed, though he was lying down. A second later, the reflection snapped into place, matching him. Terror drove him from the bedroom, heart in his throat. He huddled in the hallway. From behind him, faintly, he heard the reflection's voice. "Come back," it whispered. Shaking, he refused. Panicking, Taylor texted Milo, begging him to come over. By the next morning, Milo arrived, though he was rattled by the frantic messages. Taylor explained everything, voice trembling. Milo, seeing the fear etched on Taylor's face, decided to help however he could. They spent hours brainstorming. Should they smash the mirror, dispose of it? But Taylor worried that might unleash something or break the hold. Another forum post had warned that destroying a cursed mirror without the right ritual could be fatal. They eventually decided to remove it from the house altogether. That afternoon, they unscrewed the dresser mirror. The glass was heavier than expected. It seemed almost to resist them, the frame groaning. They carried it outside, ignoring Miss Novak's baffled questions. Milo loaded it into his trunk. The reflection stared back at them, that same mocking half-smile. Milo planned to drive it to a nearby junkyard, have it crushed. They pulled away, leaving Taylor behind with a mix of hope and dread. Would it solve the problem? Hours later, Milo's frantic call came. He never made it to the junkyard. The mirror, strapped with bungee cords, had begun rattling violently halfway there. On a lonely stretch of road, Milo was forced to pull over. The reflection seemed to shimmer, and Milo freaked out, claiming he saw a second set of eyes behind his own in the glass. Panicked, he ended up tossing the mirror into a ditch, smashing part of it. Then he sped home. Taylor inhaled sharply. Part of the mirror was destroyed? Did that matter? He prayed the torment was over. That night, Taylor tried to sleep in his bedroom again, hoping the reflection's hold was broken. At first, all seemed peaceful. No footsteps, no whispers. He relaxed a bit, drifting off. But around midnight, he awoke to a hush in the house. He glanced at the dresser, mirror removed. The surface was just a blank wooden backboard. Relief flickered. Then, faintly, from the hallway, a voice called, "Taylor." He froze. The bedroom door was ajar. Rising, he peeked out. In the dim hall, a new reflective surface stood propped against the wall. It was a large shard of the old mirror, maybe half the original size, chipped at the edges. The reflection in that shard was him, but twisted. The reflection's mouth moved, whispering, "You tried to get rid of me?" His skin crawled. He realized the mirror had reappeared on its own, or at least a fragment of it. The entity was far from banished. Fear hammered his chest. He retreated into the bedroom, slamming the door. With trembling hands, he barricaded the door. The voice outside hissed, "Let me in. It's too late." The doorknob rattled gently, though it was locked. Taylor pressed his back to the door, tears forming. Sporadic tapping on the wood, matching his frantic heartbeat. The entity, his reflection, wanted in. He recalled the online warnings about doppelgangers wanting to replace their original. If it succeeded, would anyone notice the difference? Hours dragged, the tapping persistent. Eventually, in exhaustion, he dozed off, leaning against the door. He snapped awake at dawn's first light. The tapping had ceased. Slowly, he cracked the door. The hallway was empty, but the mirror shard was gone. No sign of it. Weak with relief, he ventured out, adrenaline spiking at each corner. The house was silent, parents still asleep. He tiptoed to the living room, pausing at the big window. The sunrise cast an orange glow. Then he saw it. A new reflection in the window's glass. The shape behind him. Tall, identical to him, with a grin. Inside the window reflection. He spun around. Nobody. But in the reflection, the doppelganger remained. It stepped forward in the window's image, while Taylor stood still. Panic seized him. He realized it had found a new reflective portal. Any surface could hold it. The figure in the window lifted a hand. "It's time," it said, though no audible voice came from behind. He heard it in his head, or from the god. "Lass." The grin widened. Cornered, Taylor realized no matter how many mirrors he removed, the reflection would persist, unless he faced it. Summoning courage, he met the reflection's eyes in the glass. "You can't have me," he whispered. The figure's grin faltered, eyes narrowing. A wave of anger and desperation radiated from it. It lunged in the reflection, trying to break the barrier. The window glass trembled. Outside, the morning was calm, but inside, the reflection was a violent swirl. Taylor closed his eyes, focusing on a single thought. "This is my body, my life. You are not real." He repeated it like a mantra. The reflection slammed invisible fists at the glass, mouth contorting in fury. Cracks spread across the reflection's image, spiderwebbing outward. A final silent roar from the figure, and the reflection shattered, lines of fracture spreading, then bursting in a flash of mental static. The window remained physically intact, but the reflection was gone. He staggered back, chest heaving. The glass now showed only the morning light, his normal reflection. A wave of intense relief and fatigue consumed him. In the weeks following, the bizarre phenomenon faded. No footsteps at night, no lagging reflection. The dresser's mirror never reappeared. Milo reported the junkyard had found the broken mirror in the ditch and disposed of it. Taylor still avoided mirrors for a while, traumatized. Gradually, he regained comfort. He tested his reflection in windows and mirrors. Everything seemed normal. His reflection was no longer a separate entity with a life of its own. Yet, every so often, in the corner of his eye, he'd see a flicker, a moment where the reflection's expression didn't match his. But when he looked directly, it was always normal. He'd dismiss it, telling himself it was paranoia or leftover fear. Deep down, though, he never forgot the voice behind him saying, "Where do you think you're going?" He knew that whatever lurked in that cursed reflection had wanted to take his place. And even if it was banished for now, reflections were everywhere. All it might need was a single crack in his confidence, a single slip in reality to return. So, if you ever notice your reflection lag an extra second or tilt its head differently than you do, remember Taylor's ordeal. Because once that reflection starts acting on its own, it might already be too late to keep it from stepping into your world, leaving you trapped on the other side.